Tapos na siya iya.
Ay, sige po. Iyo po.
Tangarig, dahil na kami makaput ning timer, ha?
Iyo po.
Sige. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. And, opo, we are live. Opo, we are live na po, ma'am.
Dahil na kami makaput ning timer, ha?
Yeah, sure po. Opo.
Thank you.
Sir Ken, baka may
po, ano po?
chance pa kita na makakuha kang list kang officers.
Sige, message ko po si Dean.
Sige po, salamat.
Yes po, welcome po.
For acknowledgements later. Pang-add din. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Opo.
Dean Adele. Si Burns po ni ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Lago po sa GC ta. Sa GC. Dikit man lang yun, ma'am.
Sige po, sige po.
Okay. Okay.
May link ka man dyan, Bing, kang Ikaw man kita, ay kabalik ka baga sa GC, Bing.
Opo. Pagbukas daw ako din. Na dyan.
Live na.
CSTC. Saro siya sa mga officers na niya. Iyan po si Sir Lacano, kung yun siya. Hindi ko din po kaya kung nakataon lang, ngayon kung tinataas sa mga. Ay, ko lang. Ay, di ko ba? Di general.
Hi, sir. Good afternoon. It's me.
Hello po, Ma'am Jane. Yan, hi na po.
Sir Kenny, I'm Jane Briones po.
Opo.
Open ko po yung camera ko.
Yan po. Ay, hi, Ma. Ay,
Hi, sir. Good
work from
afternoon.
home yata si Ma.
Rainy afternoon po.
Rainy afternoon.
My fear po is the internet connection. Baka mamaya biglang nawala. Kasi
Okay.
yesterday po nagka-problema yung connection natin. Anyway po.
Opo, kasi your presentation is 9 and 30 minutes. So therefore, you have 5 and 30 minutes po for the Q&A.
Okay lang po, sir.
Sige. Thank you po, Ma.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Salamat po.
Apo.
Yes po, Sir Ken.
Hello po. Ayan. Tig-check ko po, Ma'am, at parang attendance.
Okay po.
Salamat po.
27. Necessary. Ken,
Yes po.
start na kita.
Sige po, okay po.
Thank you. Great rainy afternoon, colleagues and friends. Welcome to the last wave of our virtual regional research conference. The past 2 days has been intensive, productive, fruitful, and wonderful. And today, we are here once again to listen and possibly to participate to the remaining 9 presenters of their researches on social science and public administration. Later this afternoon, we will announce and award the winners and finally conclude our event. I am very glad that we still see many participants who stayed behind to attend this final day of our virtual conference. Again, this is Adele Villaflor and my co-host.
I am Claribel Haber, and As Ma'am Adele had said, we are down to the last day of our research presentations. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, we shall start with our presentations. But before that, may I remind everyone, our presenters, to please stick to the time given to you. You are given 15 minutes each. So our first presenter is Ms. Jane Briones to present her paper entitled Knowledge, Attitudes, and Practices on Antibiotic Use, Inputs to the Development of Educational Materials on Antibiotics.
Good morning to the research committee. I'm Jane T. Briones from University of St. Anthony. May I present to you my research study entitled Knowledge, Attitudes, and Practices on Antibiotic Use, Inputs to the Development of Educational Materials on Antibiotics. Antibiotics are commonly administered in response to community-acquired infection and most often in an outpatient setting, which is one of the contributing factors for antibiotic non-compliance. The non-compliance with antibiotic treatment is a common phenomenon, and this could definitely have an adverse impact to the success rate of treatment. The inappropriate antibiotic misuse, overuse is currently one of the major public health issues worldwide that affects the community and the individual. This can lead to the development of bacterial resistance, increasing the burden of chronic diseases, rising cost of health services, development of side effects, and ultimately more economic burden on national and global health system. The researcher, who is a nurse pharmacist, does several interrelated roles. As a pharmacist, a first-line healthcare provider counsels and advises patients on medication information and safety. A nurse with the deepest desire to educate, assist, and monitor medication administration believes that the research study will determine the patient's health needs. The research will also enhance awareness, increase the knowledge, correct attitudes, and improve practices on antibiotics rational use. It may also help plan to develop educational materials on the appropriate usage of antibiotics that will contribute vital information to encourage patients, families, communities, and promote patient care and safety to achieve optimal health levels. The study was primarily designed to determine the knowledge, attitude, and practices on antibiotic use among patients of the RHU of the 5th Congressional District in Camarines Sur. It also aims to find out the demographic profile of the patients as to age, occupation, educational background, geographical location, and socioeconomic status, to identify the level of awareness of patients on antibiotic use in terms of knowledge, attitudes, and practices, to determine the significant relationship between the demographic profile of the patients and the knowledge, attitudes, and practices on antibiotic use, to identify the personal, environmental, and socioeconomic factors that influence antibiotic use, to analyze the significant relationship between the factors that influence antibiotic use and the knowledge, attitudes, and practices, to develop educational materials for awareness campaign and counseling. The researcher used the descriptive survey method using questionnaire checklists supplemented by guided interviews. The quota sampling method was used to determine the number of respondents in the study. The respondents of the study were the 350 patients of rural health units in the 5th Congressional District of Camarines Sur. Selection of 50 patients from each municipality through the use of convenience method. The questionnaire includes the patient's demographic profile, level of awareness, and the factors influencing antibiotic use. For the results and discussion, demographic profile of the respondents, most of the patients were 19 to 28 years old, housewife, high school graduate, from 501 meters to 3 kilometers away from RHU, and majority are purpose beneficiaries. For the level of awareness on antibiotic use, patients are moderately aware on the knowledge, attitudes, and practices on antibiotic use, with the average weighted mean of the knowledge 2.80, attitudes 3.39, and practices 3.21. For the demographic profile and the knowledge, attitudes, and practices on antibiotic use, age found significant to the knowledge, attitude, practices on antibiotic use, occupation found significant on the knowledge and practices on antibiotic use, while found no significance on the attitudes on antibiotic use. As to educational background, found significant to knowledge, attitude, practices on antibiotic use. Geographical location showed no significance to knowledge, attitudes, and practices on antibiotic use, and socioeconomic status showed no significance to knowledge, attitude, practices on antibiotic use. For the factors influencing antibiotic use, the patients are highly influenced with the personal factors, environmental factors, and socioeconomic factors influencing antibiotic use, with personal factors average weighted mean of 3.80, environmental factors of 3.50, and socioeconomic factors of 3.63. For the factors that influence antibiotic use and the knowledge, attitudes, and practices, personal factors, environmental factors, and socioeconomic factors showed significant to the knowledge, attitude, practices on antibiotic use. Based from the findings, the following conclusions were drawn. Most of the patients were 19 to 28 years old, housewives, high school graduates, living from 501 meters to 3 kilometers away from RHU, and majority are purpose beneficiaries. The patient level of awareness was moderate in terms of knowledge, attitude, practices on antibiotic use. Age, occupation, and educational background found significant to the knowledge and practices on antibiotic use, while on the attitudes on antibiotic use, age and educational background showed significance. Majority of the patients were highly influenced by personal, environmental, and socioeconomic factors influencing antibiotic use. The personal, environmental, and socioeconomic factors that influence antibiotic use are significantly related to the patient's knowledge, attitudes, and practices on antibiotic use. The educational materials developed in the study may enhance the level of awareness upon its utilization during the education campaign and patient's counseling. Based from the findings in conclusion, the following recommendations are proposed. There is a need for active participation of patients in whatever healthcare activities to increase their knowledge, to properly understand the guidelines on the prudent use of antibiotics, and the ill effect of non-adherence to its proper use. Rural health unit personnel should have intensive antibiotic information dissemination and efficient information education campaign to influence patients to improve health literacy, to increase health awareness and consciousness. Improve communication about antibiotic appropriateness between healthcare professional and patients. Rural health unit personnel must conduct health teaching, counseling, focus group discussion, and promotion campaigns to eliminate patients' misconception and implement positive behavior change initiative to empower community to use antibiotics rationally. Department of Health personnel should strengthen antibiotic resistance awareness information by explaining when antibiotic use is appropriate and when it is not. The distribution of educational materials on the S4 use of antibiotics, guide interventions, material on optimum wellness to highlight the harmful effects of self-prescription and the appropriate use of antibiotics to reduce self-medication practices. Always remember that every ill has a pill but every pill, when misused, overused, underused, can kill. Thank you.
All right. So I think we still have more time for Ma'am Briones for you to entertain your questions. May we request the panel of evaluators to please proceed to questions or verifications from the presentation of Ma'am Briones.
We have for our panel of evaluators who are present, we have Dr. As informed by Dean Burns, we have Dr. Federico Jose Lagdameo, and of course, my co-host is also one of the reviewers, Dr. Adelfa Villaflor.
Thank you. Okay, I think Dr. Lagdameo has his question for Ma'am Briones.
Good afternoon to everyone.
Good afternoon, sir.
I'm Adelpha, I'm Claribel, Sir Kennedy, and of course, Ma'am Briones. Thank you for your presentation. Thank you for your research. I just find it curious that one of your objectives is really to develop, am I correct, is to develop materials, educational materials.
Yeah.
So can you tell us, Ma'am Jane, what sort of educational materials have you prepared as part of the research?
Yes, sir. Good afternoon. As
Afternoon
a
po.
part of an output of my research study, I have provided a hand guide which entitled Educational Materials on the S4 Safe, Smart, Sensitive, Strict Use of Antibiotics, Guide Intervention Materials on Optimum Wellness. So this output, sir, this educational material will guide intervention to decrease the misconception or erroneous beliefs held by the patients. It is also need for communication support material to help the healthcare providers towards quality services in rural health units, provide health education to give patients detailed explanation when antibiotic is or is not needed to treat illness. As such, sir, um, this educational material is an ideal reference for people in the community to take appropriate steps on the prudent use of antibiotics. So most of the inputs, sir, on my output are based on the data collected during the conduct of the study, which highlights on the areas that needs attention regarding the knowledge, attitudes, and practices on the appropriate use of antibiotics and its importance.
Yeah. Di sige. Okay. Ini nang sunod.
Okay, Ma'am Jane.
So the
All right. So we have here posted a question from Alvin Sario. I'll read it for you, Ma'am Jane. After having established the significant relationships, what are their implications on antibiotic use? What is the output of the study? Ma'am Jane.
Yes. Good afternoon. As I mentioned earlier po, the output of the study is the hand guide on the S4 safe, smart, sensible, strict use of antibiotics, guide intervention materials to optimum wellness. So as to the implication of the study, um, this research um, focusing on the growing reliance on antibiotic medication as the primary treatment for most illness is commonly observed among patients in Bicol region, particularly in the far-flung areas where the access to medication, especially antibiotics, is limited.
Okay, so thank you very much, Ma'am Jane. There is a follow-up question still from Sir Alvin Sario. The question is, why occupation not significant to attitudes? Or why is occupation not significant to attitudes?
As we all know, sir, individual occupation determines the quality of life and the income he derives from it. So most of the patients were housewives, as shown on the results of the discussion. So majority of the patients in rural areas are unemployed and less educated compared to the patients in urban areas.
That's it. We have heard it from Ma'am Jane Briones for her paper entitled Knowledge, Attitudes, and Practices on Antibiotic Use, Inputs to the Development of Educational Materials on Antibiotics. Thank you very much again, Ma'am Janes. We shall now
Thank you so
proceed.
much.
If you don't have questions anymore, so we shall proceed to the next presenter for the paper entitled Medical Pluralism, Traditional Healing Practices, and the Partido Albulario, Challenges in Inclusion. Please welcome to represent the group, Emmy Lasarte. So I can see that
Let me present to you our research on medical pluralism, traditional healing practices, and the Partido Albulario, challenges in inclusion. As part of the introduction, the existence of traditional healing dates back from 14,000 centuries BC until Chinese, Greco-Arabic, and Western countries start using traditional medicines. It is the oldest form of structured healing, which is practiced with basic sets of tenets. Before modern medicines had been introduced by this kind of practices in the Philippines, Filipino early ancestors have engaged in traditional healing. Traditional healing is a part of the Filipino culture that has been passed down through many generations. It is continuously being practiced, especially in far-flung barrios and barangays in the country. Medical practices in the Philippines are rich with history. It has a rich history dating back in the pre-colonial period, where Babaylan, aside from being a religious leader, is served as the main dispenser of healthcare to everyone in the community. In the case of Filipino traditional medicine, it has been practiced for more than 1,000 years, starting circa 18th century AD, as recorded in the Annals of Asian Travelers. From the old name Babaylan, the traditional healers now operate under various names, such as Albulario, Manghihilot, Mangluloo, Mangpatawas, and faith healers. The Albulario referred to as the general practitioner, knowledgeable in most of the folkloric modalities, usually versed in the use of medical herbs. In the rural areas, by tradition and because of chronic economic constraints, the albularios are the general practitioners, the primary dispensers of healthcare. The manghihilot specializes in techniques and treatments applicable to sprains, fractures, and musculoskeletal conditions. Hilot in rural areas ambiguously refers to both midwife or magpapaanak and the chiropractic practitioner, manghihilot or mamamasahe. The traditional herbal therapies for women's reproductive health care are numerous in this developing region of Southeast Asia and have been recorded in previous ethnographic studies. Then the Mangluloo specializes in diagnostic techniques, usually referring the patients after diagnosis to the albulario, medico or manghihilot for definitive treatments. It is considered as a specialist that determines the cause of an illness through the ritual of loob, while the Mangtatawas or tawas is a popular diagnostic ritual performed by providing clues as to the nature and cause of the person's illness. They become instrumental in ensuring that their kapwa receives the health care a person needs, regardless of gender and social status. On the other hand, the concept of power in relation to spirituality pertains to the intimate connections between the people and the venerated saints or spirits, and how this framework of power relations is translated in the domestic and social levels. In fact, the Department of Science and Technology will soon regulate the practice of traditional healers, also known as albularyo's, in the country. According to the UST-led Philippine Council for Health Research and Development, they are coming up with a set of guidelines that will introduce non-formal health practitioners into the mainstream medical practice. Bicol region, also referred to as Bicolandia, is considered to have the highest number of Catholic followers than any other regions in the country. The impact of Catholicism in the region is worth nothing for the Bicolanos to still continue the traditional practices in healing despite the technological advancement in society. Most of the people are still growing their faith and beliefs to Parabolong, which is said to be chosen spirit or supernatural being as a medium to heal individual. Because of pity for those who have nothing, the spirit instructs the Parabolong not to ask for any payment. Therefore, the patient can pay in voluntary form. This kind of bond between the medium and the spirit is formed once the Parabolong accepted the role bestowed upon him or her. And in return, the sacrifices that the Parabolong undergoes will be reciprocated through happiness, good health, and peace of mind. Partido area in particular is also known as one of the places in Camarines Sur that possess rich cultural and spiritual beliefs, thus making it very significant for the recognition of various types of traditional Parabolong, or sometimes called albularyos, where local people, most especially in remote areas, are patronizing this kind of non-formal medical practices and also as part of their social culture. For our objectives of the study, generally, this study traced the ancient Parabolong or albularyo in Partido area. Specifically, it determined the socio-demographic profile of the key informants in the procedures of the traditional healing practices and or rituals. For the materials and methods, this paper employed a descriptive method through qualitative research design, which is aimed to gain a richly detailed understanding of a particular topic on first-hand experience and direct observation. According to Denzen and Lincoln, qualitative methods are used to study things in natural settings, an exploratory method of inquiry that typically involves investigating a known subject matter, sensitive topics, or difficult to access populations. It is also defined by naturalism and interpretation. It also applied the ethnographic approach in qualitative research, which the data gathering were done through direct participant observation and interviews. We, the researchers, utilized interview-guided questionnaire, which serves as a main gathering tool. This instrument contained items that determine the demographic profile of the key informants, number of years in practice, nature of healing, procedures and rituals, used materials and or paraphernalia, and traditional healing description. During the data collection, the respondents were first given a copy of the consent to participate. This is to ensure their voluntary participation and observance to Philippine Data Privacy Act of 2012. Once agreed, using the interview guide questionnaire, the respondents were asked pertaining on the subject being investigated. The respondents of the study were composed of 10 key informants considered native traditional parabolong or albularyo, living within Partido district and selected based on popularity from the local residents and previous patients, and has family background with indigenous healing tradition and a permanent resident of the area for many years. For the results and discussion, this result is very evident on their observed socioeconomic status, considering that the most of them are just staying in a very simple house structured and made up of light materials. It was also noticed that these parabulong are living on their own since their children have already their respective families to attend to. Table 2 presents the traditional healing practices and procedures of the traditional healers who serves as the primary key informants that were selected because of their popularity in healing according to the previously interviewed patients and local residents. Among the 10 key informants, it was noted that they are all practicing the Philippine folk medicine called albularyo, which is considered as the general practitioner knowledgeable in most of the folkloric modalities, usually versed in the use of medicinal herbs and spiritual or supernatural intervention. And their procedures and rituals were observed with similarities on performing orasyon, hilot, and himolso. Likewise, with the common healing paraphernalia such as lana and kandila. Based from the face-to-face interview with the key informants, their healing powers are inherited from their forefathers and parents, while some said it was vocation from God. Their healing rituals is centered to God. Thus, they usually start and end with prayer during the performance of their practice. This so-called vocation are religiously pinapangatian by these healers, most especially every Tuesday and Friday, where the influx of patients are also observed and considered effective days in curing one's person's illness. Their services have no definite schedule for as long as there is patient who is in need of their help. In the same manner, the fee is always voluntary and is given as kusang buot by the patients. For the conclusion, the ancient parabolong in Partido area is commonly called albularyo, which is considered as the general practitioner, knowledgeable in the most of the folkloric modalities, usually well-versed in the use of medicinal herbs and spiritual interventions. Their procedures and rituals were observed with similarities on performing orasyon, hilot, and himolso, likewise with their common healing paraphernalia such as lana and kandila. Although there are noted differences and similarities in the description of their procedures, these key informants' healing practices are all centered to God with a pure intention to cure one's illnesses and to be of help to other people. For our recommendation, hence, further studies on the psychological effects of albularyosis and exploring the other features of traditional healing of partido area should be conducted and be preserved as part of the local culture and tradition. If possible, a need to establish an organization for these indigenous healers is recognized so that they will not be exploited by this modern society and will continue to exist for generations. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you very much, Ma'am Emmy Lasarte, for your and your group's research entitled Medical Pluralism, Traditional Healing Practices, and Partido Albolario, Challenges in Inclusion. Per information, the presentation has a running time of 14 minutes and 30 seconds, so we are doing away with the question and answer portion this time. So we shall move on to the next presenter, Maria Cristina Gumba, for her research entitled The Contribution of Beliefs and Practices to the Participation of Municipal Fisher Folks to Local Development Initiatives in the Municipality of Sangay, Camarines Sur.
Good day, everyone. My presentation is about the contribution of beliefs and practices to the participation of municipal fisher folks to local development initiatives in the municipality of Sangay, Camarines Sur. So municipal fisher folks in the Philippines have been part of the marginalized sectors for the longest time. So in order to address this, several development initiatives are being implemented. However, the situation of municipal fisher folks remain relatively the same. This is why this research was conducted in order to try to answer the questions on continued marginalization. So why is it that despite these local development initiatives, municipal fisher folks still remain in the marginalized sectors for the longest time? Could the reasons be related to issues in the development initiatives? Are there issues in its implementation or with the implementing agencies and organizations? Or does the problem lie with the municipal fisher folks, particularly on their beliefs and practices that affect their decision in participating in local development initiatives and further contributes to their marginalization? So this study was conducted in the municipality of Sangay. So it's a fourth-class municipality in the 4th district of Camarines Sur. It's composed of 7 coastal barangays, which were covered by this research, particularly Nato, Santo Niño, Turage, Sibaguan, Bongalon, Patitinan, and the Soul Island Barangay of Atulayan. So the municipality faces Lagunoy Gulf, which is the largest fishing grounds in the Bicol region, and several fisher folks rely on these fishing grounds for their sources of food and livelihood. So this study is an initial study about the beliefs and practices of the municipal fisher folks that affect their willingness to participate in local development initiatives implemented in each coastal barangay. So in order to accomplish the general objectives, first we tried to determine the different local development initiatives that are being implemented to improve the socioeconomic conditions of municipal fisher folks. Second, we also determined the different beliefs and practices of municipal fisher folks in relation to their participation towards these local development initiatives. Third, we tried to analyze the influence of these beliefs and practices to their participation in local development initiatives. And lastly, after knowing the results of these objectives, we tried to formulate recommendations concerning the internal and external influences that affect the current socioeconomic conditions of municipal fisher folks. So the methods used for this research was a combination of qualitative and quantitative methods. So we made use of household surveys for municipal fisher folks with a sample size of 632 respondents. We also made use of focus group discussions with the barangay leaders, and we made use of key informant interviews with selected municipal officers from the Municipal Agriculture Office. So we first tried to come up with a profile of the municipal fisher folks in Sangay, Camarines Sur. So when you talk about a municipal fisher folk or the municipal fisher folks, these are fisher folks who use boats weighing 3 gross tons or lighter. So anything heavier than that is already considered to be a commercial scale fisher folk. So municipal fisher folks are also known as the small scale fisher folks or the artisanal fisher folks. What I would like to focus on in this slide are the results of the multidimensional poverty index in all the covered barangays in Sangay. Because in order for the respondent not to be considered as poor, the multidimensional poverty index score must be lower than 0.30. However, if you take a look at all of the barangays, all of them have a score higher than 0.30. So most of them are considered poor. The poorest barangay among the 7 is Atulayan. So this can be attributed to its being an island barangay and its separated characteristic from the mainland of Sangay. And also in terms of facilities in the island, there's still a lot of lacking facilities for the barangay constituents. So basically, this illustrates the kind of condition or profile or poverty context that municipal fisher folks have in the municipality of Sangay. However, there are local development initiatives that try to address these challenges. And in particular, the challenges are the following. So open access, this is the nature of fishing in general, wherein anyone can register as municipal fisher folk and then just fish in any part of the municipal waters. So sometimes this also becomes an issue for our municipal fisher folks, particularly observed by our interviewee during the key informant interview, because according to her, unlike in farming, you can put boundaries na dito, ito lupa to ng particular farmer, ito lupa ng particular farmer. But you can't really do that. You can't really put boundaries in the municipal waters. So anyone can just fish. So in relation to that is the next challenge, which is the overfishing and excessive fishing pressure. So all of the results actually point to overfishing and excessive fishing pressure as one of the greatest challenges that they're trying to address in the fisheries sector, as well as habitat degradation, because this is something that is felt by both the municipal fisher folks and the implementing agencies that implements the initiatives for the fisheries sector. Aside from these 3 challenges, there are also the challenges on the lack of research and information, post-harvest losses, lack of management, and the inadequacy of technical and human resource capabilities, particularly for the managers and agencies concerned in analyzing fisheries. So aside from these, there are also challenges in terms of the implementation of local development initiatives. So according to the FGD results, there's too much prohibition, which disenfranchises municipal fisher folks. There's also inconsistency in implementation. Fishing gear provided is sometimes not appropriate. Lack of assistance for municipal fisher folks during natural calamities, and lack of modernization in the field of fisheries. So the local development initiatives for fisher folks are either initiated by the national government through BIFAR, DENR, and DILG, or the municipal government. But there are, and this is also recognized by the barangays during the focus group discussions. However, based on the results of the survey, what really is stuck in the mind of the municipal fisher folks are the several prohibitions and regulations that limit their fishing activities. So kumbaga ito po yung tumatak sa isip nila na pag sinabing ano yung ginagawa ng gobyerno para sa mga mangingisda, ang sinasagot nila laging pinagbabawalan kami, bawal ganito, bawal ang ganitong gamit, bawal mangisda dito sa lugar na ito. So things like that. So I tried to compare the beliefs and practices of municipal fisher folks in the perspective of the municipal fisher folks and the perspective of the government officials that try to facilitate the delivery of local development initiatives. So they both agreed that participation of municipal fisher folks sometimes depend on material benefits that can be acquired from the local development initiative. Aside from that, municipal fisher folks felt that proper management is important in local development initiatives. And also the government officials recognize that. So projects are perceived to be too slow, there must be equal treatment opportunities, promises should be fulfilled, and additional funding is actually needed. Municipal fisher folks also felt that there's a lack of communication between implementers and municipal fisher folks. On the other hand, government officials feel that there is the tendency of municipal fisher folks to resist change and government and development and just use techniques that they are used to doing for a long time. So there is still a need for trust building and clear coordination between the two stakeholders. So the municipal fisher folks also felt that they should not be expected to spend own money just to participate in these local development initiatives. And the government officials actually felt the same way. So according to them, it's better if the local development initiatives will go to the municipal fisher folks instead of inviting municipal fisher folks to go to the local development initiatives. Both sides also agreed that self-improvement is an option. This is also something that government officials can observe on the municipal fisher folks. And that most of the time, in terms when they have to choose between their livelihood and their local development initiative, municipal fisher folks usually choose their livelihood because according to them, these local development initiatives will not put food on the table right now or when my family needs it. So for our conclusion and recommendation, first off is for the municipal fisher folks. They can consider trying to understand the value of laws and regulations and cooperate with advocacies for their sector and be more open and willing to learn about alternative livelihoods. For the implementing agencies, on the other hand, they can establish a clearer coordination between the LGU and the village level officials. They can also conduct further studies about viable alternative livelihoods and specific local development initiatives. In fact, they can collaborate with the academe in trying to do so. And they can also establish fisher folk associations in each barangay or for neighboring barangays. And lastly, for the relevant stakeholders in Sangay, they can consider collaborating with each other, particularly the government entities, the NGOs, the people's organizations, the academe, the fisher folks, and other relevant sectors in order to alleviate the situation not only of the municipal fisher folks, but also the fisheries sector in Sangay. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ms. Maria Cristina Gumba, for her research entitled "The Contribution of Beliefs and Practices to the Participation of Municipal Fisher Folks to Local Development Initiatives in the Municipality of Sangay, Camarines Sur." So the presentation only has a running time of 12 minutes. So I guess we still have time to entertain questions from our evaluators, panel of evaluators. I can see Dean Adele raising her hand. So may I entertain her for her question.
All right. Thank you, Doc Bing. I just wanted to ask Ms. Gumba about the development that her research contributed to the fisher folks.
Hi, ma'am. Can you repeat the question, please? I'm sorry.
All right. What development or what contribution was given to the fisher folks based from your study? Is there any development for the Fisher folks?
Right now, ma'am, I haven't conducted my extension activities for the research yet. So I'm yet to present my results to the LGU and try to come up with a partnership with them in terms of conducting extension activities for the Fisher folks, if it's
Okay, so
possible.
that's actually in the future plans. Okay, thank you.
Yes, it's in the future
Congratulations,
plans.
Ms. Gumba.
Thank you very much, Dean Adele, and of course, Miss Gumba. May I? Yes, I can see Sir Redentor Guetre raising his hand. Yes, sir.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon,
Okay.
sir.
Tin, bali yung research mo ay ang kanyang directions ay yung paano ba yung resources ng sangay ay maging sustainable at bali ang tinutumbok mo ay sa pagitan ng mga paniniwala at gawain ng mga mangisda at iba pang mga tao na nandoon sa coastal areas. Ngayon, ang tanong ko is, sa palagay mo ba, saan ba ang LGU papanig o didinig pag ang pinag-usapan ay advice? Yun bang advice kung saan ay generated through empirical science or advice generated sa magitan ng ganitong klase ng anthropological studies gaya ng practices or knowledges ng mga fishers. Kasi ito ay isang malaking issue sa pagdating sa conservations ng resources. Kasi perang pinag-usapan, ang LGU ay nangangailangan ng advice. Ang problema nito, kapag ang advice ng mga scientists, perang kailangan dito. Pagdating naman sa advice ng mga anthropological experts, makatipid tayo dito. Ngayon, sa tingin mo, sa parte ng sangay, saan ba papanig ang LGU? Yun bang advice ng empirical science o advice ng ganitong klase ng research?
Thank you, sir, for the question. Ay, nakamute ba ako? Ay, hindi. Okay, I think, sir, it's really the discretion of the LGU on which advice they will follow. Pero as a researcher, I think it's also important for the LGU to be able to balance the interest of conserving marine resources and the interest of the municipal fisher folks as their constituents. So yun talaga, sir, yung challenge din ng sa LGU. Mabalance yung dalawa. Kasi equally important siya, sir, for me. So yun po.
Okay. I am suggesting to do research on the reliability of data. Kasi pagdating sa empirical science, talagang bilib na bilib sila. Pero pagdating dito sa mga studies, talagang ang hiningi dito ay kung consistent ba sa science na tinatawag. Pero actually, sa perceptions ko, talagang mas magaling in practical na dapat yung research knowledge magamit, kundi magastos. Kaya ang dito sa study mong ito, nakita ko, you need to convince the LGU na mas maganda, mas realistic kung itong mga data galing sa practical knowledge ng mga fishers ay mas kapakinabangan kaysa sa mga empirical studies considering the limited budget. Thank you.
Sir. Thank you po, sir.
Okay. Do you have something more to say, Ma'am Gumba, about that? Nothing more?
Nothing more, ma'am. Nothing more.
Okay, so thank you very much. And thank you very much, Sir Redentor Buetre. I have seen that Sir Redentor is also a presenter later. He will be presenting a very similar paper on the coastal community of Sangay. That's why he is very much interested in the study of Ma'am Gumba. So before we proceed with the questions, I think from our evaluators, if there is a question from Sir Federico Lagdameo later, May I please read to you some of the comments that we have here in our chat box from Sir Alvin Sario. This is a comment. The study should have a program of action on local development initiatives as output for the local government officials, not simply recommendations. Please take note of this, Ma'am Gumba, or you have something to say about this? Okay, anyway, Ma'am Gumba, nandyan ka pa ba?
No.
Anyway, another comment is outlining management options should be considered. Well, anyway, there is another question. I think this one is something that you have to answer. One of the reasons of the poor cooperation of fisher folks with governmental interventions is the mismatch between what the fishers need with what the government actually gives. Likewise, the lack of impact assessments to document milestones, lessons, and feedbacks for adjustments further complicate the government fisher folk disconnect. Have you detected this in your study? Ma'am Gumba?
Hi, ma'am.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am. Actually, I detected that in my study. Talagang meron pong misunderstanding between the government and the fisher folks. Tapos, ang daming project na pinipresent ng municipal government na ginagawa daw nila para sa mga fisher folks. Pero hindi siya nafi-feel ng mga fisher folks. Ang nakukuha lang nila is bawal magsira, bawal mangisda dito, bawal mangisda doon. So yun lang po yung nakukuha nila. So I think the point of Professor Janeda is really valuable, at least in giving me an idea on what I can further do with my research in the small-scale fisheries sector. Thank you po, sir.
So thank you very much again, Ma'am Gumba, and I hope you will really take into consideration all the... Yes, I can see the hand of Sir Vetre, although... Do you have something more to say, sir? Konti na lang po, because we have to move on to the next presenter.
Actually po sa pag-aral ni Johannesburg, 1982, sinasabi na sa mga mahirap na mga bansa, third world countries, ang data ay masyadong kailangan. Ang problema, halimbawa sa Pilipinas, limitado tayo sa mga resources natin and nakadepende tayo sa mga high-tech na mga paraan para makagenerate ng data. Ngayon, ang isang mabuting paraan niyan ay kung paano, ang isang mabuting paraan ay itong mga fishers na ay makakap natin sa kanila ang kanilang mga problema. At sa ganung paraan, sila ang makapag-input kung paano gawin o makagawa ng management sa mga resources natin. Kasi magastos po ang kung paano mag-manage ng resources, pero makatipid tayo kung nandun tayo pupunta doon sa fishers knowledge. Ang problema nga lang, ang issue, paano natin malalaman, matitiyak na yung mga sinasabi ng fishers knowledge ay totoo o scientific basis na tinatawag. Yan po ang suggestion ko dito sa study ni Titin ay tingnan niya kung paano yung mga mangingisda, yung kanilang mga sinasabi ay pwedeng i-adapt nito mga politiko natin dito sa area. Oo, ganoon.
Okay, so thank you very much, sir. I think your point is well taken by our researcher, Ma'am Christina Gumba. So we move on to the next presentation, the research entitled Extent of Community Participation in the Ecotourism Project in Caramoan, Camarines Sur, to be presented by Ms. Jocelyn Amata.
Good morning. I am Jocelyn P. Amata from Partido State University, San Jose Campus, San Jose, Camarines Sur. I'm going to share to you my research entitled Extent of Community Participation and the Ecotourism Project in Caramoan, Camarines Sur. Introduction. Among the municipalities in Camarines Sur, Caramoan presents great economic potential. In 2010, the Department of Tourism named Caramoan as one of the Philippines' top tourism sites. It was also considered as one of the top 14 tourism destinations in the world by Top Pressa Travel Fair 2008, an annual travel trade in France. On the other hand, in an effort to minimize the false and negative effects of conventional tourism to the environment, ecotourism was used as an alternative form of tourism in many parts of the country, including Caramoan. In 1991, the World Tourism Organization, together with the United Nations Development Program, collaborated with various government agencies and private organizations in the Philippines to make ecotourism a priority. However, it took 8 years before an executive order that will structure its development was finally passed in 1999. Barangay Paniman in Caramoan, Camarines Sur is home to many emerging businesses such as hotels, restaurants, homestays, and the likes due to the existing ecotourism activities in the area. It is considered as a perfect getaway to spend one's most awaited vacation and is one of the municipality's prime income generator. Popular activities that tourists can enjoy in the place include diving, swimming, snorkeling, spelunking, boat riding, island hopping, and sightseeing. The participation of the community in the ecotourism projects in Paniman, Caramoan, Camarines Sur is the primary concern of the present researcher, hence this study. It is important that the dynamics of community participation is understood in order to analyze its significance in sustaining or maintaining the ecotourism project in the site. Research objectives. Generally, the study aimed to find out how the community participates in the ecotourism project of the local government unit of Caramoan, Camarines Sur. Specifically, it sought to determine the following. First, the socio-demographic characteristics of the respondents, the level of awareness of the respondents about the ecotourism project, the extent of participation of the respondents in the ecotourism project, the relationship between the respondents' socio-demographic characteristics and the level of awareness, perceived roles, and level of participation in the ecotourism project. As to the research methods, data were gathered using quantitative method. 3 methods of data collections were used. First, mothers and fathers belonging in the sample were asked to answer a self-administered questionnaire. Key informants such as the project head and barangay captain were interviewed. And existing documents about the community and the ecotourism project from the barangay, municipal, and provincial government were analyzed. Chi-square test of independence, which used 0.5 level of significance, was employed in testing the relationship between the household head's socio-demographic characteristics, level of awareness, nature of participation, and level of participation. Findings revealed on the socio-demographic characteristics of the respondents. Majority of the respondents were 34 to 41 years old males, had relatively low educational attainment. They were members of at least one organization, married and with families composed of 5 to 6 members. Almost all were Roman Catholics and had an annual family income of about 10,000 to 30,000. On the average, they had been residing in their barangay for 31 years. On the level of awareness of the respondents about the ecotourism project, all of them were aware of the project being implemented by the Municipal Tourism Office. However, a small fraction of respondents, or about 4%, believed that they were only somehow aware of it, which means that they were not that particular about its details. They only knew that the project exists because of the ecotourism industry. On the other hand, quite a number of them, or 28%, responded that they were indeed very aware of the project. Answers from the survey questionnaires revealed that the very aware response was common among the respondents who were directly involved in the project, which included some staff of the Municipal Tourism Office, the boat operators, and the boat captains, among others. On the extent of participation of the respondents in the ecotourism project, it was found out that 20% were tasked to assist visitors and tourists, while 17% saw their responsibilities in attending orientations, trainings, and seminars regarding the project. Such result can be attributed to the fact that the ecotourism industry in the area mainly requires a number of people to help in assisting tourists and visitors. Moreover, attending orientations and seminars regarding the project was also seen to be a responsibility of the people, since the Municipal Tourism Office needed to be ensured that the people they will hire for the job of assisting the tourists and visitors are well educated about the ecotourism protocols, which are very important in maintaining the proper condition of the area. As to the nature of participation, findings revealed that the nature of participation and the household heads can be described as mere followers of the leaders and supervisors of the project. They involved themselves in the project because they believed that they could be of help to the project and they could benefit from it. On the relationships between the respondents' socio-demographic characteristics, level of awareness, nature of participation, and level of participation, of the variables tested for possible relationship with each other, the respondents' socio-demographic characteristics were found to be significantly related to their nature of participation. In addition, the respondents' level of participation was found to be significantly related only to their membership in organizations. Based on the foregoing findings, the following conclusions were derived. First, majority of the people were 34 to 41 years old, males, who were already married and whose families were composed of 5 to 6 members. Most of them were high school graduates. As for the religion, almost all of them were Roman Catholics. They were born in their barangay and had lived there for almost the entirety of their lives. They belonged to the low-income group in the Philippines. Some of them were affiliated with at least one organization. The people's level of awareness of the ecotourism project was relatively high. All knew about the existence of the project. The ones who were very aware are those who are directly involved in the project as staff member and members of organizations working for the benefit of the project. The project proponents seem to limit the involvement of the people to assisting visitors and tourists and attending orientations, trainings, and seminars only. Public announcements and interpersonal sources were the two most popular ways of knowing about the project. Based on this, it can be implied that the residents of Paniman in Caramoan, Camarines Sur rely heavily on the local government and other residents to relay messages to them. The project proponents seem to limit the involvement of the people to assisting visitors and tourists and attending orientations, trainings, and seminars only. Another conclusion, people perceive their role in the ecotourism project as concerned citizens only. They participated in the project only when they want to or if they feel that they are needed at some point in time. However, some of them were members of organizations directly involved in the project, and some are staff members of it. The nature of participation of the people could be described as mere followers of the leaders and supervisors of the project. People took the orders and decisions from those who lead and those who supervise them. They involved themselves in project because they believed that they could be of help to the project and can benefit from it. It was evident that the description of participation of the respondents, based on their agreed statements, fitted the description of Pretty's first three levels of participation. Thus, the extent of community participation of Barangay Paniman falls under the third level of participation, which is participation by consultation. Based on this, it could be implied that the level of community participation in the area was low. Membership in organization was the only variable found to be positively related to the level of participation in the ecotourism project. People belonging to organizations tend to be more involved in the project than those people who are non-members of the organizations. On the other hand, gender, civil status, religion, annual family income, and being a member of an organization were found to be significantly related to the nature of people's participation. These certain socio-demographic characteristics have significant effects on the way the respondents participate in the project. Based on the results and findings of the study, the researcher submits the following recommendations for incorporation and implementation to the Tourism Development Plan and Policies of Caramo and Camarines Sur. First, the municipal or barangay tourism office must try to establish a much higher level of participation from its residents to address project sustainability. Residents should have a say on whatever is happening with the project since it is their own resources that the project is utilizing. Next, public announcements, communication by word of mouth, attendance of residents in meetings, trainings, and seminars regarding the project must be monitored and enhanced to make sure that more residents understand the purpose of the project and why the tourism office need their participation or involvement. Finally, similar studies on community participation can focus on finding what motivates the residents to participate in ecotourism related projects or knowing the effects of community participation on the project and the people itself using the qualitative approach. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ms. Jocelyn Amata. Her research is entitled Extent of Community Participation in the Ecotourism Project in Caramoan, Camarines Sur. So I guess Ma'am Amata is now ready for your questions, ladies and gentlemen. By the way, I wish to acknowledge the presence of our one of the panel of reviewers, Professor Ronel Juneda Sr. Good afternoon, sir. Anyone?
Hi, ma'am. Hi, ma'am Bing.
Hi, hello, sir. You have your question, sir?
Yes po. Yes po. Okay.
Go ahead, sir.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Dr. Amata. I have a couple of questions here for you. The first question has something to do with the title of your project. So the title is Extent of Community Participation in the Ecotourism Project. I was looking for the answer to the question, to what extent is the community participating in the ecotourism? So how much percentage, how much of those of the residents in Paniman would you say participate? Kasi yun po yung tanong, no? Extent. So I was looking at the percentage sana. And then the second question has something to do with your findings that gender and religion play significant roles to participation. So how did religion and gender play significant roles sa participation po ng community? Yun lang po.
Ma'am Jocelyn Amata. Hello, ma'am. Ma'am Jocelyn, please turn on your microphone. Nakamute ka po.
Yes po.
I guess you heard the question from one of our panel of reviewers.
So, asking po on the extent.
Yes, extent of community participation.
For the level of participation. So, for the level of participation, so I did is to get the I based on the previous typology of participation, wherein it was found out that the participation level of the respondents fall on the third level, which is participation by consultation.
So it's not really extent but level of community.
Sorry.
So maybe better po na yung title natin level, hindi extent.
Yes po, yes po.
Kasi pag extent, parang percentage po yung
well taken po. Sige po.
Tapos, ma'am, how is, this is really interesting. You mentioned nga na gender and religion are significant variables. So how did religion play a significant role sa participation and also gender po? Thank you.
Jocelyn.
So I found out that mostly the ones who are participating in the activities are the males. So this this can be taken as the reason why they are related.
Sir Lagdameo.
Sorry.
Yes.
Sorry. Parang any particular reason, special reason why male participants are more participative than female ones, ma'am? And also yung religion rin?
The males are the common participants because they are the ones actively participating in the ecotourism activity, just like for the island hopping, mostly ng mga are the males.
Parang yes, that's the actual thing that's happening. Pero why are the males, bakit sila parang gano'n? Kasi if you say it's a significant factor, parang there's a reason why only males have a higher percentage of participating. Anyway, sige, yung ano na lang po, yung last na lang po, yung religion, because that's also another interesting finding there.
So basically po, religion plays a significant because most of the ones or the respondents are Roman Catholics. So siguro po kaya they are taken as, or they have significant relationship with the
would that be just an incidental feature? Would that characteristic be only incidental? I'm thinking kasi...
Probably po.
Okay. So, siguro it's good to note that it's
yes,
something incident. Thank you po.
Okay, so thank you very much, Sir Eric. And for your questions, sabi ni Sir Alvin, good questions, Sir Eric. Okay. And also another comment from Sir Alvin Sario. The results of this study can be reckoned with the project evaluation of the ecotourism project. So,
Can I ask? Can I ask?
for a while, sir, I'll just have this question from Sir Ronel Yuneda, one of our evaluators. Ma'am Jocelyn, please listen. Your findings are alarming. These are exactly the opposite of one of the inherent purposes of ecotourism, that is to propel rural development where locals are the immediate actors and beneficiaries of the industry. The managers would have a lot of things to do to redirect things towards better participation. You have something to say about this, Ma'am Jocelyn?
This is probably because the projects being implemented are privately managed. So they are being privately managed. So actually, there is a sustainable ecotourism included in the tourism master plan, but I think the problem lies in the implementation. So the activities being implemented are actually privately managed, although they are being regulated by the municipal tourism office.
Okay, so thank you very much. I'm sorry, Sir Redentor. I guess our time is up for Ma'am Jocelyn. Am I right, Sir Ken?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Sir
we
Ken,
proceed.
pwede pang maghabol mas isa lang.
Pwede ba nating paunlakan?
Sir Ken?
Makulang na ang oras.
And Sir Ken?
Pwede
Sa tingin ko
po
kasi mas makakatulong sa ano, sa
pwede
research.
po sa
Sir, pwedeng
Sir,
ano,
pwede po sa Zoom chat na lang po. And then, Marta will answer. Yes po.
okay.
Very limited po kasi yung time. Thank you po. Thank you for your understanding.
Sir, please understand na ano po, baka kulangin tayo ng oras. Ano? So anyway, please just type your question in the chat box, and I hope that will be noted by Ma'am Jocelyn, and maybe Ma'am Jocelyn can answer if that's a question. Okay. Anyway, so thank you very much again. We move on to the next presenter. That is the research of the presentation is entitled Competence of the Philippine National Police in the province of Camarines Sur in responding to conventional crime against person as perceived by association of barangay captain presidents, local government units, and Philippine National Police. This is to be presented by Mr. Agustin Camo.
Good morning po. Today I am going to present my research study entitled Competence of the Philippine National Police in the province of Camarines Sur in responding to conventional crimes against person as perceived by the Association of Barangay Captain President, local government units in the Philippine National Police. Background of the study, this research was conducted since the duty of the police is to protect the life and property of the people, and this kind of crime is rampantly occurring in the locality and the country as well. The possible solutions of this would really consider the competence of the PNP in responding and at the same time in making a program and activities to address the situation and condition that would attune to the criminalities that happen in the locality as well as the support of the local government and the community. This study is conducted to determine the needs of the PNP personnel in terms of their capability and capacity to address conventional crimes against person as well as the support needed by them from the LGU and the community. The program to be improved for better responses in the crimes that happen in the locality in terms of conventional crimes against person. The objectives of the study, this aim to determine the competence of the PNP in the province of Camarines Sur in responding to conventional crimes against person, the statistics of crime incident, and the effectiveness of the activities mitigating the said crimes. The result of the study served as basis in designing crime prevention program and enhancing competency of the PNP to be adopted in the province of Camarines Sur. Specific objectives: 1, to determine the crime incidence statistic in the province of Camarines Sur along the following: A, murder; B, homicide; C, physical injury; and D, rape. 2, to examine the level of competence of the PNP personnel in responding to conventional crimes against person in terms of A, organization; B, training; C, logistic; and D, financial resources. 3, to determine the significant difference in the perceptions of the three group of respondents on their level of competence in responding to conventional crimes against person. 4, to examine the level of effectiveness of the PNP practices in mitigating occurrence of the conventional crimes against person in terms of A, implementation; B, monitoring; and C, evaluation. And the last is to determine the significance difference in the perception of the three group of respondents on their level of effectiveness of the PNP practices to mitigate the occurrence of conventional crimes against person. Research methodology: the research utilized quantitative descriptive method of research using closed structured survey questionnaire to answer research problem presented. This research design was prepared in gathering the significant data from the respondents, since it sought to provide a systematic description, measurement, and analysis of the data, situation, or phenomenon, particularly on issues regarding the competence of the PNP in responding to conventional crimes against person in the locale of the study. Findings, conclusions on questions number 1. Findings: physical injury has the highest number of occurrences, frequency 628, followed by rape with 131 recorded cases. Murder has 89 recorded incidents, and homicide has the lowest incidence during the year with a total of 38. Conclusion: the physical injury had the highest overall occurrence and highest occurrence every quarter among the conventional crimes against person, usually during July to September. Next is rape, which frequently occurred in the second quarter. The third is murder, which almost happened in the second and third quarters. Meanwhile, homicide had the lowest incidence among conventional crimes. In general, conventional crimes against person were common during the second quarter and least occurring in the first quarter. These occurrences of the crime incidents must be given focus by the PNP in order to devise measures of solution. Recommendation: since physical injury has the highest occurrence among conventional crimes against person, particularly in the third quarter of the year, it must be given more emphasis by the law enforcement agency and the LGU so that appropriate policy can be formulated for the protection and safety of the people. Since rape ranks second, the PNP, LGU, and other government agencies like DSWD must collaborate in addressing it to mitigate and or eradicate its occurrence. Question number 2, findings on the perception of barangay officials, local government officials, and the PNP members themselves on the level of competence of the Philippine National Police in responding to conventional crimes against person in terms of organization. The PNP very competent in this area with an overall mean of 4.30. B, in terms of training, obtained an overall mean of 4.27. C, in terms of logistics, the PNP got an overall mean of 4.21. And D, in terms of financial status, the PNP was competent on this aspect with an overall mean of 4.17. Conclusion: the ABC respondent, local government officials, and the PNP members themselves found the PNP very competent in responding to conventional crimes against person in terms of organization. B, the PNP are found very competent in terms of training as they possess basic skills in investigation processes and procedure, and they are able to apply it in their job. C, in terms of logistics, the PNP was also rated very competent as there are municipal police stations to provide better services to the public and properly maintain logistical resources to ensure that they are serviceable and operational. However, search and rescue equipment facilities still need improvement. D, in terms of financial resources, the PNP was rated competent as they use financial resources fairly, effectively, and efficiently. Recommendation: as the PNP was rated quite low in terms of enforcement operation, they should revisit their responses in order to be felt and understood by the community. Further training and seminars on the conduct of criminal investigation, handling and dealing people, maximum tolerance, courtesy and discipline, and human and spiritual cleansing for holistic change and development of the PNP personnel. They should also have training on proper care, use, and handling of equipment, tools, and facilities, disaster response, rescue, and operation. On question number 3, findings on the level of competence of the PNP personnel in responding to conventional crimes against person in terms of training, the null hypothesis is rejected and can be concluded that not all the group means are equal. the p-value is greater than 0.05, difference are not statistically significant. In terms of logistic, the group means are all equal. The p-value is less than 0.05. The null hypothesis is rejected. In terms of financial status, the group means are equal. The p-value is less than 0.05. The null hypothesis is rejected. Conclusion, they have varying opinion on the level of competence of the PNP in responding to conventional crimes against persons in terms of training, logistic, and financial status. However, they have similar perceptions of the level of competence of the PNP in responding to conventional crimes against persons in terms of organization. Recommendation, the PNP should undergo training and seminars on financial management, budget allocation, fund sourcing, budget, and operation program, and transparency to respond properly to financial matters of the police organization. On question number 4, findings on the level of effectiveness of the PNP activities that mitigate the occurrence of conventional crimes against persons in terms of implementation. It has an overall mean of 4.26, suggests that the PNP is very effective in implementing the programs. In terms of monitoring, it has an overall mean of 4.25. In terms of evaluation, the PNP is also very effective in this aspect, as shown by the overall mean of 4.25. Conclusion, the PNP was perceived as very effective in terms of the implementation of the PNP activities that mitigate the occurrence of conventional crimes against persons as they improve the community's feeling of safety and provide prompt, efficient, and equitable service to the community. In terms of monitoring, the PNP programs were also rated very effective, but the 3 groups of respondents rated low as the PNP conduct of tracking of the activity and operation performed by members and officers of the police department. Evaluation of the PNP activities to mitigate the occurrence of conventional crimes against persons was also found very effective. However, the 3 groups of respondents rated the PNP lowest in conducting situational studies and independent testing. Recommendation, the PNP should have transparency to the public to inform them about their efforts on crime responses by conducting information dissemination by barangay, TV and radio programs, by the distribution of pamphlets, and other means reaching the knowledge of people about their performance. The PNP should also have visibility and concern to their men so that the public sees to it that officers are actually supervising and manning their police personnel. On question number 5, findings on the significant difference in the responses of the respondent on the level of effectiveness of the PNP practices that mitigate the occurrence of conventional crimes against persons in terms of implementation reveals that the p-value of 0.008 is less than 0.05 level, which means that the null hypothesis is rejected, that the group means are not at all equal, hence there is significant difference of the 3 group of respondents. The p-value is less than 0.05, also indicates that it is statistically significant. On monitoring, the group means are equal and the p-value is less than 0.05. The null hypothesis is rejected and can be concluded that not all group means are equal. The p-value is greater than 0.05. Differences are not statistically significant. On evaluation, the group means are all equal and the p-value less than 0.05. The null hypothesis is rejected and can be concluded that not all the groups means are equal and the p-value greater than 0.05. Differences are not statistically significant. Conclusion, they have varying perception on the level of effectiveness of the activities of the PNP to mitigate the occurrence of conventional crimes against persons in terms of implementation, monitoring, and evaluation. Recommendation, the PNP should revisit their policy on evaluation to consider the issues that need to be improved for the satisfactions of the people whom they serve. Thank you. I don't know, okay na?
Okay, so thank you very much, Mr. Agustin Camo, for your presentation. Mr. Camo is now ready for the question and answer portion. So do we have questions from our audience, from our participants? I can see the hand of Mr. Betre. So you are now on, sir.
Okay. Sir, good afternoon po.
Yes, good
Okay.
afternoon po.
Alam ko lang po kung ilan po yung ano po yung margin of error na ginamit mo doon sa statistics mo? Margin of error
0.05 po.
Ano po yung ibig sabihin nun?
That is standard as it is used in the statistics po eh.
Okay. So, pardon mo sir, kasi masyadong mabilis yung ano mo kanina. So, okay. So, ilan po yung respondent na ginamit mo po?
It's more than 100 plus po on the part of the PNP, and on the part of the ABC president, we have 35, and on the part of the local government unit, those who are available when I distributed the questionnaire, and when I distributed the questionnaire, those who can able to fill up my questionnaire. So overall, I think it's more than 300.
Okay. So paano mo po kinuha yung mga respondents, or ano po yung strategy of sampling mo po doon sa mga kategoryeng yun?
I personally visited the municipal police station, the LGU office, and in fact, I am being scheduled during their season, and I am invited. Then I talk about my research study. Then by that, I left or distributed my questionnaire.
Okay. Sir, tama ba yung narinig ko na bali po isa sa mga naging basis mo ay yung research study mo?
Isa sa?
Tama ba yung narinig ko na isa sa mga naging basis mo doon sa pag-determine ng sampling ay yung research study mo beforehand?
Opo. Yung sampling ko is I sampling ko to determine the validity of my research. I asked and consider other policemen and other LGU official which not belong to my study. But in distributions of questionnaire, I cover all those who are belong to Camarines Sur. We have 35 municipalities in one city.
Ilang sir? Ilang municipalities?
35 municipalities po, sir, and one city.
Sir Bretre, can you go direct to the point? Your last question, please, for our researcher.
Okay. So,
we can accommodate other questions po from our panel.
So bali po yung tanong ko, sir, paano mo po masabi na yung result na kiniklaim mo po ay highly reliable considering your statistical parameters?
My research result findings is reliable on the ground that I consider the result in a way. I triangulate the findings through the use of LGU official, the PNP itself, and the ABC president that represented the community. And aside from that, I also consider the data that is available in the police provincial office.
Okay, so thank you very much, Sir Bretre, for your question. We will now accommodate, or we will ask our panel of reviewers if they have questions for our researcher, Mr. Camo. Do we have question from Sir Eric and Sir Ronel? Okay, so no question from Sir Eric. We have here a question from, do we still have the time, Sir Ken? Maybe this is a question, this is the last question for this study. What are the weak areas of PNP as to implementation and performance?
Well, based from the findings, in fact, the weak performance of the PNP is in terms of, not in general, because in some municipality, they're also performing well. There are sometimes having problem in the conduct of investigation and applying the procedure. That's why in my findings, it was therefore suggested there that training for investigation and procedure for the conduct of processes should therefore be conducted among policemen for them to be equipped for that matter.
Okay, so thank you very much, sir. I think that the time is up for this research.
Okay,
So
ma'am. Thank you.
thank you very much.
Opo.
So we will move on to the next presentation, this time on work-life balance and work performance of PNP's personnel, still on PNP, by Zaida Doloroso.
Good day, I'm Zaida Basaldo Raraso, a graduate school student at the University of Nueva Cáceres. Thank you for this opportunity in letting me present my paper entitled Work-Life Balance and Work Performance of PNP Personnel in Bicol Region. Statement of the problem, it answers the following objectives: to determine the manifestation of work-life balance of PNP personnel, second, to describe the work performance, and third, to develop intervention program that will promote work-life balance in the organization. The total respondents was 75 personnel of the 4 provinces of Bicol region, and I used thematic presentation, and before I have arrived with a thematic presentation, I have conducted focus group discussion and interview to the respondents. I have made a table showing the themes on work-life balance of PNP personnel and identified 5 aspects to describe the themes for work-life balance. The themes generated were love and loyalty to work, family as second priority, time management, health and physical activities, recreational activities and socialization, and last is spiritual activities. Among the themes generated, the highest work balance goes to the love and loyalty to work of PNP personnel, while the lowest manifestation of work-life balance goes to their spiritual activities. For the next table, I have the themes on work performance of PNP personnel. The highest theme for the work performance is the quality of work, followed by workload management, and next is job knowledge. I have here the summary matrix of findings on work-life balance and work performance, showing the PPAs, objective, time frame, persons involved, budget, expected output. For the third objective, I have developed an intervention program called Refuel Your Tank. This is the cover of the book. And on the right side are the activities showing or ways on how to improve work-life balance and work performance of PNP personnel. Refuel Your Tank is an intervention program designed to improve the work-life balance of PNP personnel, especially those who perform administrative and clerical works, through energy rebuilding and healthy living. Energy and healthy living play a crucial role, and they are also interrelated. The program is composed of simple to complex individual and group activities aimed to promote energy rebuilding, healthy living, and better spiritual life. I use the name Refuel Your Tank as symbols of work-life balance. The tank describes energy level and health condition of PN personnel. At the same time, the word refuel was used figuratively to describe the process of replenishing energy, better living, and spiritual life. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ma'am Doloroso. So Ma'am Doloroso is now ready for your questions, Sir Eric and Sir Ronel, and perhaps also from Dean Adele.
Good afternoon po.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Sir Eric.
I'd like to take the first question.
Go ahead, Sir Eric.
Okay. Ms. Doloroso, congratulations for your research.
Thank you, sir.
I'm a little curious. No, I'm curious. No, why this particular research? I mean, is there a particular problem that presented itself? That's why you wanted or you needed to determine the work-life balance of PNP personnel?
Thank you for that question, Sir Eric. Primarily because I belong to the same organization. I am a non-uniform personnel assigned in Magarao Municipal Police Station, and working as crime registrar. So even if I am not a uniform personnel, those who are frontliners, I experience also challenges in balancing my work and my personal life while I am employed in the organization. So there's this big challenge of knowing which aspects of humans are being compromised because of our work in the PNP.
Follow up lang ako, no?
Yes po.
I know it usually starts that way. You have an experience and you'd like to find out with others. Okay. So, how much is this problem shared by members of the PNP? Were you able to look into that? I mean, look at the figures of people having difficulty with work-life balance in the PNP?
Yeah, thank you, sir, for that question again. Actually, I based in our station alone during conversations, informal conversations, I usually encounter issues like balancing the work and the and personal life of the PNP personnel. I wanted to have a quantitative approach for my study, but the situation didn't permit me to do so because I have to travel to Sorsogon, Masbate, which are NPA infested. So my personal security was at stake. So I decided to just have a qualitative approach, and mm, it's the qualitative approach was quite convenient for me to conduct. So I just have to conduct, though I conducted my interview face to face and the focus group discussion also, but I had to only deal with few personnel, even if it means I have to travel to Sorsogon and Masbate.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome, sir.
Thank you, Sir Eric. We shall now have the question of Ma'am Adele, Dean Adele.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Miss Saida.
Good afternoon, Dr. Adelpha.
I just wanted to know, I'm just quite curious, after your work life, after knowing the work life balance and performance of BNP, uh, what will be your next move? And can you tell us the final worth of your study?
Thank you for that question, Dr. Adelpha. Actually, I have here a book, but it's not yet published because I need more financial, financial resources to fund my book. We have this. My study was actually focused both on the uniform personnel, those who are employed by NAPOLCOM, and non-uniform personnel who are hired by the civil service. So the civilian part of the PNP. We have this organization, the Non-Uniform Personnel Association in Camarines Sur, and all throughout the provinces in the different regions in the Philippines. I have started presenting my book to the national president of the Non-Uniform Association Incorporated. And before the COVID strike our place, I had a schedule in Camarines Norte to present my output or the book itself. But for uncontrolled circumstances, we had to reschedule it, and I'm still waiting for the next schedule for me to discuss my book to them.
All right. If you would mind, could you give
Yes,
us the title of the book?
Oh, it's the Refuel Your Tank. The title is Refuel Your Tank. It means discussing about recharging the energy of the PNP personnel. So more of a manly. It sounds manly to connect with the masculinity side of the PNP. It's composed, Dr. Adelpha, of individual and group activities on which they can freely perform or do, and it's more of, it doesn't require big budget because most of those activities are um,
more of building the human development side on which the Chief PNP Cascolan is pointing or reiterating to us as part of his 9-point agenda.
Okay, thank you, Ms.
You're
Saida,
welcome, Dr.
and
Adalpa.
congratulations.
Hello,
Thank you
ma'am.
po.
Can we still accommodate once?
Sino ba ang aking? One
Oo.
more?
Pwede pa yata, Bing.
Yes. Do we have
Okay, ma'am.
questions from our audience?
Okay, ma'am.
Colonel?
Prof. Juneda, please.
Yes.
Colonel.
Yes, sir.
Good afternoon, Ma'am
Sir.
Zaida. Good
Good
afternoon.
afternoon, sir.
Okay, I heard that this is your thesis, master's thesis probably from UNC.
Actually, it's my doctorate
Doctorate. Okay,
one po.
okay, ma'am.
Yes po. I just graduated po last September online graduation.
Okay, congratulations. I just would like to, I hope this will not cast doubts to your results. Just point to ponder. The best way to do research is to isolate ourselves from the experimental setup we're doing, as if
Yes
we
po.
assume a bird's
Yes
eye
po.
view of the phenomenon we're observing.
Yes po.
Now you're an insider to PNP and try to assess what is inside there. I'm not saying that's not good. I'm not saying that's wrong. But take a look at this. You had just verbalized a while ago that you had limitations. You had reasons for conveniences for your safety along the way of doing it
Personal things, sir.
nationwide. So that alone would actually tell us that could have been done better and more reflective of the realities along Bicolandia, Bicol region, as far as work-life balances of PNP personnel, if this is done by somebody who is outside of the organization. Again, I'm not saying that it's wrong that you do it as an insider. But a while ago, we just heard that you have accommodations, you have biases, you have conveniences, you have reasons that you need to consider as well, including financial costs, safety, and other things. So just a lesson from doing our research, just that as much as possible, we need to be kept isolated from the parameters, the players, the actors, or the phenomenon itself, so that we could have a non-biased and more comprehensive assessment of the phenomenon. But anyway, your result is actually one of the focal areas I think the PNP is concentrating now, because it has wide ranging of impacts indeed, especially the failure of some to balance really the time between family and the work.
Yes.
Thank you, Ma'am Zaida.
Yes, doctor. Thank you po.
Okay, so thank you very much. I'm Saida, do you have something to say about that?
Dr. Juneda has a point there. Before I have conducted this research, I also went through the consultation with my advisors. I had a consultation with my advisors, and with their guidance, I have slightly diverted the fact that I might be really have a bias in conducting this research, but accepting the challenge of traveling to different provinces and stations where there are possible NPAs just around the corner is a big risk for me, I think. So it somehow equate. I don't think it's the best word, but it somehow equate with the um not 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 having personal bias in conducting the said study.
Okay, so thank you very much, Ma'am Saida.
You're
Sir,
welcome po.
we have the last question. Do we still have the time? Yes. The last question is from Sir Alvin Sario. What is the plan of action proposed by the study to gain work-life balance and work performance among PNP personnel? It's in the chat box, ma'am.
Yes
What
po.
is the plan of action proposed by the study to gain work-life balance and work performance among PNP personnel?
Thank you, Mr. Sario, for that challenging question. Actually, sir, I have already have here a tangible output, a book entitled Refuel Your Tank, and it presents different activities
describing or helping the PNP personnel to enhance their different aspects for their mental, social, emotional, spiritual, physical aspects. So it's a whole all-rounded program as an intervention in having or attaining a work-life balance and sustaining also their work performance.
Okay, so thank you again, Miss Saida, and thank you to
Thank you
our
po.
panel evaluators and for the questions.
Thank you po.
So we will now have the next presentation by Nora Bacares et al. The research is entitled Citizen Satisfaction of Environmental Management and Economic and Investment Promotion Services of an LGU in Camarines Sur.
To the organizers of this regional research conference, the panel of evaluators, fellow presenters, ladies and gentlemen, a pleasant day to everyone. The research project that I am going to present in this conference is titled Citizen Satisfaction of Environmental Management and Economic and Investment Promotion Services of an LGU in Camarines Sur. This is Nora E. Bacares, a graduate school faculty from Partido State University. Under the Local Government Code of 1991, LGUs in the Philippines are mandated to provide basic services that are responsive to the needs of their citizens. Given this high mandate in ensuring the people's general welfare, it is only reasonable that the client's perspective should also be part of the equation insofar as local government performance is concerned. As the intended recipients and end users of public services, the citizens are deemed in a better position to determine whether or not these services are delivered according to their needs and to the extent that they fulfill their everyday and long-term human development requirements, thus getting their sentiments, opinions, and insights based on their own perception and evaluation as consumers of local public services is a logical method of shaping what local governments need to do to ensure welfare of the citizens. This context provided the reason to implement the Citizen Satisfaction Index system to serve as a tool for drawing in applicable information for gauging citizen satisfaction that can be used for agenda setting of economic and human development plans and goals of LGUs. This study assessed the people's satisfaction on the environmental management and economic and investment promotion services of a local government unit in Camarines Sur. Specifically, it aimed to determine the satisfaction level of the citizen respondents on the basic services provided by the LGU, to provide the LGU basis for crafting well-informed policies and management decisions in providing basic services to the people, and to strengthen the LGU's decisions on policies and programs that focus on environmental management and economic and investment promotion as areas for socio-economic development. The study used a mix of quantitative and qualitative research methods through face-to-face interviews with actual residents randomly sampled from the barangays of the target LGU. In selecting the respondents, the research utilized the multi-stage probability sampling in order to ensure that every citizen 18 years old and above, male or female, who have lived at least 6 months in the municipality is given an equal chance to be selected as a participant in the study. Since the CSIS was interested in the general population, the sample was likely drawn from barangays where most people resided. Barangays with larger shares of the population had more spots and respondents in the sample.
Citizen satisfaction.
These are the findings. Under the program Environmental Management, there were 5 service indicators, and these are community-based greening projects, air pollution control program, solid waste management, wastewater management. These are the findings. Under the program Environmental Management, there were 5 service indicators, and these are community-based greening projects, air pollution control program, solid waste management, wastewater management, and cleanup program. Worthy to note is the high rating in satisfaction and low in need for action of all the service areas under environmental management. This could mean that this local government unit needs to sustain the positive aspects of its service delivery, considering suggestions and recommendations from its citizens. Overall, the services on environmental management is rated high in satisfaction and high in need for action by the 150 citizen respondents interviewed. Recommendations by the respondents focused on the provision of programs and activities specifically on solid waste management, such as regular collection of garbage in the town and in barangays. Under the service area, economic and investment promotion, there are 11 service indicators. On the dimension of satisfaction and need for action, all the indicators that were noted as small sample were rated high in satisfaction and low in need for action. This may mean that this municipality needs to sustain those positive aspects cited in this report and give priority focus to the service areas where actions are still needed. On the overall, economic and investment promotion was low in satisfaction, but high in need for action. This could mean that on a 58.73% cutoff, satisfaction is still low. With 90.48% rating on the need for action, more citizens declared that there is still need for action in particular areas under economic and investment promotion. Citizens' recommendations focused on the need for livelihood trainings, specifically on the production of local goods and promotional activities of said products be done on a regular basis. In addition, promotional campaigns about the tourist attractions and other similar activities be given attention because the citizens believe it could help improve their economic condition. On the overall, services on environmental management is rated high in satisfaction and high in need for action. This could mean that this local government needs to sustain the positive aspects of its service delivery considering suggestions and recommendations from its citizens. Meanwhile, services under economic and investment promotion was rated low in satisfaction but high in need for action. This particular service belongs to Quadrant 4, indicating opportunities for improvement. This must be given attention since this is targeted as a critical area for improvement. This could also mean that services under this area should be given the highest priority and attention, specifically on activities and programs that would serve as a source of livelihood. May I also present the use of Action Grid as a tool to prioritize different services. The Action Grid divides the service areas into 4 groups based on adjectival ratings on satisfaction and need for action. The different quadrants represent different areas for prioritization. Quadrant 1, continued emphasis Services or service areas that belong to this quadrant are those that were rated high in satisfaction and high in need for action. This may suggest that the quality of service delivery may be good enough, but there is still a need to take action on specific aspects. Quadrant 2 exceeded expectations. Services or service areas that belong to this quadrant are those that were rated high in satisfaction but low in need for action. The general direction suggested for these service areas is to sustain positive aspects of service delivery that were cited by the respondents. Quadrant 3, secondary priority. These are the service areas falling under those that were relatively rated low, both in satisfaction and in need for action. This may suggest that citizens view the services as low performing based on their expectations, but relatively do not need urgent action from the local government as much as the others. Quadrant 4, opportunities for improvement. Services and service areas falling under opportunities for improvement are those targeted as critical areas for improvement because they were rated relatively low in satisfaction but were deemed to highly require local government action. As a general direction, these services are deemed to be critical points for serious quality improvement. The negative aspects of delivery of these services can be presumed as drivers for dissatisfaction, but if addressed, they can be potential drivers for satisfaction. With this, may I go back to the overall ratings? On the overall, services on environmental management are rated high in satisfaction and high in need for action. This could mean that this local government needs to sustain the positive aspects of its service delivery, considering this suggestion. The citizens suggested that there is a need for a stricter implementation of solid waste management and provision of garbage collection in the town proper and in barangays. Meanwhile, services under economic and investment promotion were rated low in satisfaction but high in need for action. This particular service belongs to Quadrant 4, indicating opportunities for improvement. These are the suggestions from the respondents. Along economic investment promotion, the LGU and other concerned agencies, such as the Department of Agriculture, should intensify promotion and information dissemination about livelihood projects to reach out residents, especially those living in far-flung areas. Citizens also suggested that promotional activities on tourist attractions in the municipality be intensified because they believe that this would create local employment for them.
Okay, so thank you very much, Ma'am Nora Pacares. We shall now entertain questions from our panel of evaluators.
Hello po. Good afternoon.
Yes, Dina Del, your question, please. Nakamute ka po.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Ma'am Nora.
Yes po.
I just wanted to ask you, because there are several agencies involved, how are you going to reject your results to the concerned agencies for implementation?
Actually, ma'am, we already have conducted utilization conference with the LGU. This was sometime in January, and that also not only the LGU but also the local civil society organizations and the NGOs and the different departments, and of course the department heads and the different unit heads and division chief of the LGU are the ones invited in the utilization conference where we disseminated all the results of our of this study. And there was actually an action plan. The ones invited in the utilization conference did an action plan for those recommendations given them.
Very good. So congratulations.
Okay, so thank you very much, Dean Adele. Do we have questions from our gentlemen viewers? Sir Eric and Sir Ronel?
No questions.
Okay, so I guess no more questions for our researcher. Sir Eric, do you have your question? Nag-on ng camera. Wala naman? Wala na. Okay. Okay, so okay. Sabi ni Sir Alvin, appreciated action read. Okay, so thank you again to our researcher. We move on to our next presenter for the research entitled Participatory Rural Appraisal in the Coastal Community of Santo Niño, Sangay, Camarines Sur. Input for drafting Barangay Disaster Risk Reduction Management Plan. Please welcome Mr. Redentor Buetre.
Good day. The title of our presentation is Participatory Rural Appraisal in the Coastal Community of Santo Niño, Sangay, Camarines Sur. Input for drafting of Barangay Disaster Risk Reduction Management Plan or BDRRM. The researchers of this study are Professor Lostria, yours truly, Redentor Buetre, Professor Irene Consulta, and Dr. Christina Lim, all of Partido State University, Sangay Campus. Bicol is a hazard-prone region. Common hydrometeorological hazards experience usually accompanied by heavy rains and or strong winds are typhoons and storm surges. Another is floods and landslides that could claim hundreds of lives and properties. Efforts have been exerted to make the Philippines a disaster and climate change resilient country. Among others, these efforts are the establishment of the National Disaster Risk Reduction Management Council in 2009 and passage of the Philippine Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Act in 2010. Despite of this legislation, the adopting of a plan has been slow due to largely to the lack of the technical know-how on the adopting of the said plan. Hence, this study was conceived in response to the need to provide technical assistance in the formulation of a barangay disaster risk reduction management plan. Santo Niño is a coastal barangay of the municipality of Sangay, Camarines Sur, prone to storm surge during typhoon, dry spell, flood, as well as effects of rains brought by southwest monsoon, also known as habagat. The need to prepare and capacitate the community and minimize the negative impacts of this hazard is urgent. The adopting of a DRRM plan with the participations of the community is a step towards minimizing the negative impacts of hazards, especially natural hazards. The general objective of this study aim to conduct PRA for drafting of Barangay Disaster Risk Reduction Plan for Barangay Santo Niño, Sangay, Camarines Sur. Specific objectives are determine the socio-demographic characteristic of the respondents, determine the physical and social characteristics, including the available resources and its gender use of Barangay Santo Niño, determine the naturally occurring hazards and its potential threats to Barangay Santo Niño, identify institutions or organization with socio-economic and political interactions to the community of Barangay Santo Niño, evaluate community responses and practices to disaster before, during, and after occurrence. And last, draft BDRRM plan. This study was conducted in the municipality of Sangay Camarines Sur, especially in Barangay Santo Niño, a coastal community. As shown in the map indicated in the right portion of the slide. The research design utilized was a combination of quantitative and qualitative design. For quantitative, survey using questionnaire was utilized, and for qualitative, PRA and its corresponding tools was used. For the results, the socio-demographic characteristics of the respondents are mostly middle-aged adults, mostly household heads, mostly married, mostly elementary and high school graduate, mostly depend on farming as a source of livelihood, and mostly rated themselves as poor. We have two maps in the slide. The first is the resource map of the Barangay Santo Niño, and the other is the gender resource map. The resource map tells us that the community possess different resources ranging from aquatic resources to land resources, especially farm products and trees and other plants that can be used as, or that can give income to the constituent. The gender resource map tells us that there are resources utilized solely by men, like a father. There are resources also utilized with the combination of men and women, and there are gender resources also that are utilized with the participation of all household members. For instance, in case of farming or farm resources, during preparation of the farm, usually the father and the mother combined their efforts, while in harvesting, usually all of the members of the households are present, while the farm activity like tilling weeding and fertilizing are usually done by father. Now this slide tells us that there are several linkages or institutions or stakeholders that uh, that possess or exhibit uh, interactions to the community. For instance, there is the LGU Sangay, the DSWD, the PNP, the DOH, the Department of Tourism. These linkages indicates that these institutions provide important services to the constituent of Santo Niño. We can notice also the presence of educational institutions, like for instance, higher educational institutions such as Ateneo and PSU, which give services to the community through the mechanism of extension generated after the conduct of research. For example, this study that is being presented to you. There are also educational institutions such as high school, like private high school, like St. Andrew, public high school, like the DepEd, that are connected with the community, and this is because of the presence of the government program for poverty alleviation, which is the 4Ps. Aside from this linkage, we have also some linkage, but lies outside of the circle, which indicates their non basic services given to the community, like for instance the unbound, the anawim. This slide tells us the most frequently occurring hazards and the hazard map that reveal those parts of the community that are vulnerable to this identified natural occurring hazards. The most frequently occurring hazards are storm surge, followed by flood, then by habagat, and the dry spell or drought. Now, the potential places or parts of the community that can be impacted by these hazards are being revealed in the hazard map. By looking the hazard map, we can determine what are the areas potential for impact of these hazards. Those parts of the community situated near or along the the coast are most likely prone to storm surges generated during typhoon occurrence, while those parts of the community, such as the farmlands, are also potential for uh, impact, especially of uh, flood brought by the occurrence of the typhoon or by the occurrence of the heavy rains during the onset of southwest monsoon or habagat. This part tells us that the communities of the barangay practice strategies during, before, and after storm surge occurrence, which is the most frequently occurring natural hazards indicated in the previous presentation.
Okay, so thank you very much. We need to cut off the presentation of Sir Redentor Betre since it is actually 20 minutes actual presentation. And in fact, we don't have the time anymore for the question and answer portion. So we will proceed to the next presentation. This time it's by Mr. Romeo Soto Jr. for the research flood control measures in the municipality of Nabua, basis for community-based flood control interventions.
The municipality of Nabwa remains predominantly as an agriculturally related when it comes to its economic and industrial activities, as manifested by its proximity to the Balatan Port and Pantao Port, inherent vast agricultural lands, and suitable agro-industrial site. During heavy rains, subsequent flooding usually occur in the municipality of Nabwa, which in effect affects the agriculture and impacts the economy with prolonged period of flooding. With this, the research titled Flood Control Measures in the Municipality of Nabwa, Basis for Community-Based Flood Control Interventions was conducted. Flooding as defined by the Pag-asa is the abnormal progressive rise in the water level of a stream that may result in the overflowing by the water of the normal confines of the stream with the subsequent inundations of areas which are not normally submerged. Flooding is caused primarily in the municipality of Nabwa. It is caused by the different typhoons that pass the region. We have the Typhoon Reming, Typhoon Nina, Typhoon Waning, and Typhoon Pablo. As a Nabueño, the researcher is residing in one of the low-lying barangays in the municipality of Nabwa. The researcher annually experiences flooding with an approximate average height of 2 feet during heavy rains and typhoons. The researcher finds it difficult to travel from house to the poblacion area, thus affecting the daily routines of going to the market, selling and buying goods, and even going to work. The researcher, as a science teacher, is desirous to help solve flooding in Nabwa by way of environmental education, to raise awareness to students and local folks, to suggest measures to mitigate flooding, promote sustainable environmental practices in schools, homes, and offices, and empower the community folks through activities that will mitigate flooding. With this, the need for an enhanced community-based flood control interventions is needed to control, if not eradicate, the occurrence of flood in the municipality of Nabwa. The researcher felt the need to appraise existing measures or interventions to help the local government unit of Nabwa come up with more effective and efficient flood control interventions. Now let me show you the topographic map of Nabwa, and you can see here how the municipality is flooded during heavy rains and typhoons. This research is guided upon by the following questions. What is the assessment of the respondents on the flood control measures implemented by the municipality of Nabwa along the structural and non-structural flood management? Second, is there a significant difference on the assessment of the respondents? Third, what is the effect of the factors in the implementation of flood control measures as assessed by the respondents? And fourth, what community-based interventions can be designed based on the findings of the study? This research utilized the descriptive evaluative survey method with the respondents coming from the various accredited organizations in the municipality of Nabwa that take a direct part during flooding. And the sampling technique that were utilized is the purposive sampling. Presented here are the different sectors in which the respondents were taken. We have the academic sector, transport sector, agricultural sector, the market or vendor sector, the youth sector, the religious sector, the barangay council, the local folk, and the senior citizen sector. This study utilized the data main gathering instrument, the survey questionnaire, and other researcher tools like the interview, the focus group discussion, the documentary analysis. And the statistical tools that were utilized in this study are the frequency count, the weighted mean, the Likert scale, the rank ordering, and the Kruskal-Wallis H-test. For the first problem to be answered, let me present to you the finding, conclusion, and recommendation. The degree of implementation of the municipality of Nabwa along the structural flood control measures and non-structural flood control measures is high. It is therefore concluded that both the structural and non-structural flood control measures implementation is high. Construction of flood-reducing infrastructures like the dams, dikes, water reservoirs, and pumping stations, and human resource development, collaboration, and linkages are the main flood control measures in the municipality. It is thereby concluded by this paper that the municipality of Nabwa should not only focus on the construction of infrastructures that control flooding, but should also focus on the restoration and renaturation of natural waterways. Furthermore, it is recommended that the municipality of Nabwa should improve and upgrade its physical facilities and equipment in order to acquire real-time information as to the flood forecasting and alert systems. Moreover, the municipality of Nabwa should give symposiums and trainings to the different sectors in order to build a stronger link to other community stakeholders. For the second problem, this research tested the null hypothesis if there is no significant difference on the assessment of the different sectors on the flood management measures along the structural and non-structural flood management. Results have shown that with the average computed value for both flood control measures, structural and non-structural, is 28,5625, which is far greater than the tabular value at 0.05, which is 15,507. The decision rule is to reject the null hypothesis. With this, it is thereby recommended that proper information dissemination and text blasting can augment the variation of the perceptions of the different sectors with regard to flood control preparedness, mitigation, and control. Furthermore, a centralized data system and a data server should be utilized for this purpose. The third one is what is the effect of the factors in the implementation of flood control measures as assessed by the respondents. We have here for the findings, the extent of effect of the factors directly influence the implementation of flood control measures in the municipality of Nabwa. For the conclusions, the extent of effect of the different factors was high for both the structural and non-structural flood control measures. It is thereby recommended that the improvement of the floodplains of low-lying areas to become flood resilient, further construction of flood-reducing infrastructures, upgrading to a state-of-the-art facilities and equipment, as well as the conduct of monthly, quarterly, or annual trainings and seminars must be given per sector in order to increase the degree of implementation. For the fourth one, what community-based interventions can be designed based on the findings of the study? The practical guide on community-based flood control interventions can be made with which presents different interventions with the following features: the title of the intervention, the background of the intervention, the impact of the intervention to the municipality, and the sustainability and collaboration for the intervention. Now, let me present to you the output of this study. The output of this study is the handbook. The handbook may serve as a guide as well as an eye-opener to the local government unit of Nabwa and springboard, especially to the Sangguniang Bayan ng Nabwa, to promulgate and enact municipal ordinances in relation to flood control and reduction. With this, let me present to you my references and let me leave you with this statement. Stewardship is a shared responsibility. Through our collective efforts, together we can change the world. Thank you, and I am Romeo B. Soto Jr. from the University of St. Anthony in Iriga City.
Thank you, Mr. Soto. So we shall now have the question and answer part. Our first question is coming from Dean Adele.
Thank you. Mr. Soto, congratulations for coming up with this research. You know, my husband is from Nabwa and we really experience this flooding. And there are actually cases wherein we are stuck there when we are on our way home to Pili. All right, so this is my question. Were you able to meet and inform the municipal mayor and the officers in Nabwa about the flood control intervention measures that you did? What about your response? Is it positive or what?
Yes, ma'am. Can you hear me po? Can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Yes, ma'am. I met with the municipal mayor as well as po with the Sangguniang Bayan members of Nabwa and the vice mayor, as well as po with the MDRRMO, with Sir Leonil Quinones, and also po with the different organization presidents. And with regard to my research, they are applauding my research, ma'am, because this is the first research, ma'am, that is conducted in the municipality of Nabwa regarding the flooding in the municipality. They are aiming to promulgate ordinances that are springboard from the result of the study, ma'am. That's why they are happy that there is a research conducted with regard to flooding in the municipality. Yes, ma'am.
So that's very good. Thank you and congratulations again.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am Adelpha.
Okay, thank you, Dean Adele. May I request everyone to please put your microphone on mute mode. Anyway, our next question, do we have questions from our panel of evaluators? Sir Eric and Sir Ronel, do you have your questions?
I don't have one. Congratulations to the researcher.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ronel, Sir Ronel.
Do we have questions from our audience? Okay, so if there are no more questions, then we will have actually that's the last presentation for this afternoon.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, so thank you very much again, Mr. So we shall now have the last part of today's program. This is the closing and awarding ceremonies. The president of COGE, Dr. Bernadette G. Gumba, shall do first the awarding of certificates for presenters, for reviewers and moderators, and she will do the closing remarks as well. Friends, please welcome Dr. Bernadette G. Gumba.
Thank you, Dr. Claribel and Dr. Adelpha. Thank you very much. And of course to Kennedy, thank you very much. So actually my closing remarks will be more of awarding the certificates. I've included all the people that I'm sure the Council of Deans for Graduate Education would like to thank for this very successful activity. Kennedy has some PowerPoint, please. Okay. So the Council of Deans for Graduate Education in partnership with the Commission on Higher Education and of course our HAI partners, the Partido State University, the Central Bicol State University of Agriculture, and the Camarines Sur Polytechnic Colleges. We would like to thank so many people for the success of this conference. So I'd like to start, of course, with the presenters. For the presenters, this conference is actually about you. It's all about your researches and your commitment and advocacy to continue doing research as faculty members of higher education and advanced education. So please bear with me. I would like to first give my heartfelt gratitude to the presenters. Ken, please. So thank you to, sorry, for the, please go back to the certificate. So everyone, all the presenters, reviewers, moderators will receive the certificate of appreciation. Ken, can you please go back, please, sorry. So the Council of Deans for Graduate Education, the Commission on Higher Education, and Partido State University awards the certificate of appreciation. This certificate is presented to for the valuable contribution as, so it can be a presenter. I'm going to mention the names, of course. As I've said, they are the backbone of the conference. The moderators, of course, are very thankful for you, and of course, the reviewers. During the conduct of the CHED-CODGE-PSU Regional Research Conference with the theme Research Engagement in Higher and Advanced Education, on October 5 to 7, 2020, via Zoom and simulcasted over Facebook Live and YouTube. Signed, of course, myself, and very thankful also to the Regional Director of the Commission on Higher Education, Regional Office 5, Dr. Freddy T. Bernal. Thank you very much, sir. So this is the certificate. Let's go on to the people who would like to thank Khalid Serio, Maria Joy Iglesia Idian, Hanilin Hidalgo, Joseph Jesse Oñate, Chalice Omorog, Maria Wendy Solomo, Raul Burse, Jomerl Edward Baldo, Angelo Francis Atole, Mark Anthony Ampongan, Mirna Bigeha, Rexes James Lopez, Kier Gasga, Raimundo Romero, Hu Paterno, Fillmore Murillo, Tracy Santos Clerigo, Arlene Magana, Emilda Elcano Escolano, Anthony Madraso, Julian Almohuela, Carlos Jacobo Jr., Myra Luz Homiliano, Adelfa Villaflor, Rafael Oñate, Gina De La Roca, Josie Romero. And of course, Jane Briones, Emmy Lazarte, Maria Cristina Gumba, Jocelyn Amata, Augustine Camo, Zaida Doloroso, Nora Bacares, Redentor Buetre, and Romeo Soto Jr. Thank you very much for all our virtual club. And the next set, of course, our very able moderators. Thank you very much for staying with us for each day that you are assigned. And of course, even the days that you were not assigned as moderator. So Dr. Adelfa Villaflor, thank you. Dr. Claribel Haber, Dr. Mariel Estrella, Professor Marilu Barcela, Dr. April Luzon, and Dr. Marlon Contillas. Thank you very much. And the one and only, our Zoom expert. Thank you, Professor Kennedy Kuya. If it's not for you, Ken, we will not be able to have this online conference. Actually, one and only yan si Ken, solo. He's the, if not without him, we will not be able to start with the registration and everything. Even after this conference, ladies and gentlemen, Ken will still be there to process the evaluation. Of course, also Doc Pam Viñas will help us later. And a special mention to the organizing committee composed of the following: Dr. Pamela Viñas of CHED-5, Dr. Adelfa Villaflor of CBSUA, Dr. Maria Teresa Manzano of CSPC, Professor Kennedy Cuya of PSU, Dr. Federico Jose Lagdameo of Ateneo de Naga University, Dr. Maria Luisa Gonzalez of Bicol College, Dr. Teresita Nacion of Divine Word College of Legazpi, and Professor Abe Belleza of UST Legazpi. See, that's different HEIs working together. Thank you very much for that. I'm amazed. Talaga, ano pala, one representative, one HEI. And the reviewers, the reason of the, if you have any complaints, by the way, about the results later that I will announce, you go to this person, to these people. So they are the reviewers. They gave the scores, they reviewed all the manuscripts and all the PowerPoint presentations, even long before the start of the conference. So they started, I think, October 2, October 3. So again, let me thank Dr. Adelfa Villaflor, Dr. Federico Jose Lagdameo, Professor Ronel Dioneda Sr., Dr. Michael Roland Hernandez, Professor Victor John Lopias, Professor Francis Xavier Verdadero, and Dr. Michael Cuesta. Thank you. So, this is my my closing remarks already. The criteria that the reviewers used are as follows: 40% relevance, 25% for potential for collaboration. This means it can be interdisciplinary or interagency collaboration. 25% contribution to new knowledge, and 10% for overall presentation for the information of the audience. All authors were informed about these criteria even before they submitted their full manuscripts. So there's also a rubric for this which the reviewers used in the evaluation. Okay? So now, kung sa next po, kung sa FAMAS, this is the long-awaited moment. So every author that would receive this commendation will get this certificate. So this is the template. Let me read again: Council of Deans for Graduate Education, Commission on Higher Education, Partido State University, a certificate of commendation. This certificate is presented to the name of the author presenter. Let me just clarify that we will not include all the names of the authors because there are manuscripts with 5, 6 authors. So we will issue the certificate to the presenter, whose research entitled, of course, the title of the paper has been selected as best paper during the conduct of the CHED-CODGE Regional Research Conference with the theme Research Engagements in Higher Education and Advanced Education on October 5 to 7, 2020 via Zoom and simulcasted over Facebook Live and YouTube. So signed again, myself and Regional Director Freddy T. Bernal. Okay. What's next? Suspense. Okay, wala. So the best papers, ladies and gentlemen. May patugtugin. Okay, ay may paano pa. So, ano lang, pasakalye, bago na yan si, the result. There are 53 total submissions. The review, there's a screening committee for all the abstracts and another set of reviewers for the manuscripts. So, from the 53 submissions, 41 were accepted. We also classified some non-competing. So out of the 41, 34 were competing and 7 were non-competing. First reason, part of the organizer. So if you are in the organizing team, your paper will automatically be part of the non-competing, like the study of Dr. Adele Villaflor, and of course Maria Cristina Gumba, because she is my daughter, automatic non-competing. Sorry. Sa iba, you can present again, Miss Gumba and other conferences. And those who submitted late, ladies and gentlemen, we did not include anymore. The authors were informed about that. But if you have already entered your PowerPoint and manuscripts with some revisions, that's fine, as long as it's within the deadline. But there were some who submitted after the deadline. So to be fair to everyone, we classified them under non-compete. Okay, for the result, by the way, wala lang, Ken, wait. There are, based on the reviews, there are a total of 8 best papers for this conference. Actually, the highest, we will not anymore flash the rates, the rating, but the highest actually is 97 points. Very, very promising research. Okay, so, sige, next. So the first step, presented by Jomer Edward Baldo, evaluation of anti-cancer properties of Alpinia galanga, I'm not sure, Zingiberraceae, leaf ethanolic extract. So I've just indicated the name of the presenter. I think there are co-authors, but we just present the name of the presenter. And next, by Kier Gasga, electricity dye-sensitized solar cell from Pili Canarium ovatum Inc. Virtual clap. Okay. Next set, please. Next set. Population, by Raul Burse, population parameters of squamous venous clam. Anomalocardia squamosal in Natunawan Cove, Tabaco City. And we have from Hanilin Hidalgo, street vendors' livelihood vulnerability to typhoons in Naga City, Philippines. Okay, from Arlene Magana, learning mode preferences of OLLCF, College of Teacher Education students. And Maria Joy Iglesia Idian, the management practices of LGU operated abattoir in the Bicol region. And next set, by Jane Briones, knowledge, attitudes, and practices on antibiotic use, inputs to the development of educational materials on antibiotics. And by Romeo Soto Jr., flood control measures in the municipality of Nabua, basis for community-based flood control program. Flood control program. Okay, flood control intervention. Congratulations. Congratulations. So, I would like to announce to everyone that there will be another round of conference sponsored by the Council of Deans for Graduate Education and Commission in Higher Education sometime in 2021, maybe February or March. Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Okay, Ma'am. Thank you, Dr. Gumba. At this point, I'd like to congratulate all the winners and thank you to all of you who have really made great contribution to the amazing success of this conference. Thank you very much, guys. Stay always. Thank you.
So thank you very much. We also have to, I think it's also worth mentioning the officers of COGE. President is Dr. Bernadette Gumba. Vice President is Dr. Alex Navarrosa of Discast. Secretaries, Dr. Teresa Menzano of CSPC and Dr. Teresita Nacion of the WCL. Treasurer is Dr. Romeo Sumayo of UNC. Auditor, Dr. Michael Cuesta of Ateneo Dinaga. And PIO is, of course, Dr. Adelfa Villaflor.
Business manager. For the business manager, Dr. Eleanor Osea from UNEP. Likewise, we wanted to thank the CHED Regional Office number 5, the panel of reviewers and evaluators, the research presenters, the working committees, and the organizing committee. Thank you very much.
Picture.
Yes.
Photo op.
So we request everyone to please open your videos, your cameras.
And
photo opportunity.
Also, while we're setting up, I would like to request po our sa ating mga YouTube fans out there na flash on your screens are the evaluation forms for days 1 to 3. No? You need to secure or accomplish your evaluation form for you to be able to secure your certificate. Again, naka-flash po sa ating mga screens ang mga forms. Just type in the link and then you will be redirected to a Google form and then please accomplish our form. So thank you very much. Now let's go.
Evaluation forms must be accomplished so they can get their certificates.
Yes, po.
Right.
So, yes, po. So now let's have a photo op. Yes.
Yes. Yes.
So, pa-on lang po ng ating mga yung mga sana din po yung mga winners po para po mapicturean natin and then ma-post po natin as accomplishment po ng COGE, no? So sana po nandito po silang lahat.
I think we see that is not locked in.
Sige po. So, tingin-tingin po tayo sa camera. Ayan. Tingin-tingin po. Ready? Smile po tayo. And 1, 2, 3. Yan. So, meron tayo. Isa pa po. 1, 2, say COGE. COGE. Yan. So, ano po baga? Kung pakinis. Last one po. Last one. Ready? Picture po tayo. 1, 2, 3. Ayan. Okay na po. Thank you so much. Maraming salamat po.
Thank you very much, everyone, and congratulations to our winners.
Congratulations po.
Congrats.
Bye, Ma'am Bing.
Bye. And of course, congratulations to the organizers.
Goodbye po and thank you.
Welcome po.
Signing off po. Bye.
Bye-bye.